it's Patrick Hutzel from IntensiveCareHotline.com, where we instantly improve the lives for families of critically ill patients in intensive care so that you can make informed decisions, have peace of mind, real power, real control, and so that you can influence decision making fast, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse in intensive care. This is another episode of Your Questions Answered, and in last week's episode I answered another question from one of our readers, and the question last week was, is my dad at the right hospital ward for his needs? He seems to be getting less and less care here. I need help. You can check out last week's question by clicking on the link below this video. In today's episode of Your Questions Answered, I want to answer another question from one of my clients, Anna, as part of my one-on-one consulting and advocacy service. Anna is disappointed with her dad's fast turnover from ICU to the general ward, and she's asking how they can prevent the ICU team in transferring her dad to the ward so soon. So today's question from Anna is, how can we prevent the ICU team to transfer our dad to the ward so soon? So these are excerpts from email consultations with me and Anna. Hi Anna, you should trust that the intensive care team assessed your dad's cough appropriately, and if the description is accurate from the matron, he will be able to manage and protect his airway. It sounds like contingency is in place, at least on paper, if your dad was to deteriorate. You just need to keep an eye on it. As long as they don't make decisions over your and your dad's head, it'll be fine. If what they are saying is accurate, it was about time to leave ICU. ICU is not a great environment, so look at the positives for now. You should probably still clarify the DNR status and also ask your dad what he wants. It sounds like there is no DNR at present, but you need to clarify to get certainty. This is from Anna now. Hi Patrick, thanks so much Patrick as ever. Well, I rang ICU right away this morning to discover that Dad was already being discharged to the neuro rehab ward today. I asked, could someone ring me back urgently, and the senior matron called me back. She's very nice. I have watched her with other patients and with Dad on occasion and think she's excellent. She appraised me of the situation. The multidisciplinary team met this morning and felt Dad is safe to leave ICU for neuro rehab on these grounds. He's been off the ventilator for 13 days successfully with no contraindications. Tracheostomy has been removed and internal tube has been removed yesterday with no adverse effects. His breathing is stable and oxygen saturation levels are above 92%. He has a strong cough reflex. Vital signs have been consistently stable and he's not delirious. The physio team reported that Dad sat on the edge of the bed himself this morning and then stood up unaided. They were amazed. They told me they are thrilled with Dad's progress over the last 10 days and feel this is the window of opportunity to grasp his next stage of rehab. They said they feel Dad has the best chance of recovering outside of ICU and that they rate the neuro rehab ward. She said Dad will be under the same physio team. She also said the speech and language therapist had already popped up to see Dad and will be assessing his swallow once he's settled in. I asked about secretion management. She said Dad will manage it in the same way with the mouth suction tool himself. I told her I'm worried about him aspirating on his secretions, but she said he has a very strong, good cough and can clear into his mouth well. She said he can spit it out or suction it, whatever he feels comfortable with. She explained that once a patient is conscious and able to communicate, stable and able to breathe, they are safe to leave ICU. I told her we are very concerned about that being a high-risk transfer and that we don't want him to fall at the first hurdle. She told me she wanted to assure me that they wouldn't discharge Dad if he wasn't safe and that they have come to know and care for Dad these last 3 months and want to see him do well. I told her that numerous consultants had told us that Dad wouldn't be readmitted to ICU if he required it after discharge. I said that wasn't acceptable and was duty-bound to challenge it. She said that has changed now. The ICU consultant on duty feels Dad is of sound mind and spent a long time talking to him one-on-one about all aspects of his time there and his care in the past and going forward. She said the consultant felt Dad had a good understanding of what had happened to him in the subsequent weeks. More importantly, that Dad had told him that he wanted to recover and continue to have all available treatments. So they told me that if Dad was to deteriorate, he would be scored, and if required, an ICU doctor would come to assess him and would readmit him if clinically necessary. She said the nurse-to-patient ratio in the neuro rehab ward is 1:6. She said Dad will be in a high visibility bed with a nurse and auxiliary fairly close. She says they would remain in close contact with the ward to keep an eye on Dad. The plan is that he would start in the rehab ward and then move to the residential rehab unit, which is more of a home from home, with the goal of transferring Dad home eventually. Dad would be under the care of the consultant neurologist who leads the ward and the residential rehab unit. As ever, I'd really welcome your thoughts, Patrick. I'm disappointed that things moved so quickly beyond my control and that I was unable to stall Dad's transfer out of ICU. I know in many ways it's a positive step that it's felt he's well enough to leave. We just worry as a family what would happen if he has a setback. Many thanks and best wishes from Anna. Hi Anna, thank you for shedding more light on your dad's situation. I can certainly see why you are so concerned. Now there's a bigger picture forming with more information. Please see my comments below from your email. Please let me know what else you need or want to know. Hi Patrick, this is also helpful as always. To answer your question, they've never talked about specific timelines, but they certainly never implied it would be a quick process moving from weaning to tracheostomy removal to transfer. Indeed, they have always talked negatively about how slow the pace has had to be to match Dad's extremely slow recovery, which has never been an issue to us, of course, but clearly has been to them. Yes, Anna, this is definitely true. Again, the worst case scenario for an ICU is to look after a critically ill patient indefinitely with an uncertain outcome. Your dad fits that criteria. ICU is trying to manage their worst case scenario, whereas you are trying to manage your worst case scenario, which is losing your dad. At a meeting with one of the consultants and senior matrons a few weeks ago, they cautioned us about the reality of transferring him out to the rehab ward. He won't get the monitoring, he won't get the nurse-to-patient ratio, he won't get the same level of physio. They told us he is fragile and could deteriorate very quickly there, and that by the time it was noticed, the outlook may be too serious to recover from. This is probably accurate, Anna, what they're describing and telling you. You certainly had to watch and manage ICU staff. The next challenges are ahead and you will need to watch and manage the ward staff. Your dad could deteriorate very quickly, but they have been negative all the way along and that hasn't stopped you or your dad, and he does keep improving. Have they looked at long-term rehab in a proper rehab facility? Who is going to be his primary doctor once he will have left ICU? Hi Patrick, I don't think they actually thought about the significance of what they were telling us, but for my sister and me especially, it was important information. It made us determined to protect his care so that he leaves ICU with the lowest risk factors possible. I can see that Dad is still very weak, and if he is as fragile as they say, my instincts are that another week or two of monitoring could be what he needs. It would help inform the picture going forward for us as a family. Okay, great, Anna. This is excellent information. You should then definitely ask for another week or two for the very reason that they shared with you that going to the ward too early could potentially kill your dad. Hi, Patrick. Also, my dad still needs a lot of help suctioning. The night before last, he barely slept as he had a lot of secretions he needed help with. How successfully would this be dealt with on the neuro rehab ward? What are the risks of aspiration, Patrick, if he's moved out of ICU too soon? Hi, Anna. The question here is if your dad can cough and protect his own airway. If he can cough and get rid of his sputum without any suctioning in his throat, he should be able to protect himself from aspiration from secretions. In order to do that successfully, he will need to have a good strong cough though. Is your dad eating and drinking? Has he had speech and swallow therapy? If he can eat and drink, he should also be able to protect his airway and not aspirate. Hi Patrick, I'm suspicious because throughout we've had mixed messages. Just a week ago, another consultant told my stepmom Martha that she didn't think Dad would successfully wean and have the tracheostomy removed, that he would never be safe to leave ICU, that he was unlikely to recover further from the delirium in her view, and fast forward a week, Dad has weaned and fed and had the tracheostomy removed. His neurology has improved every day, and suddenly the message is different. Now it suits them. He's apparently okay to leave ICU. Yes, Anna, now they may take the quote-unquote sink or swim approach, and yet your dad has to recover in his own time. Keep asking them to keep him in ICU. The level of care will significantly decrease on the ward. A lot of it will really depend what skill level is available on the ward from the nurses, physiotherapy, and also if there's an ICU outreach or ICU liaison team that will keep an eye. Until you found out about ICU liaison and ICU outreach, keep him in the ICU until you know he can safely manage his secretions without the risk of aspiration. And aspiration pneumonia could set your dad back by many weeks. So, this is the end of today's consulting and advocacy session with Anna. It'll continue next week. And the question now is, how can you become the best advocate for your critically ill loved one? How can you make informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence quickly, whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care? Well, you will get to that all-important feeling of making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence when you download your free Instant Impact Report now by entering your email below. In your free Instant Impact Report, you will learn quickly how to make informed decisions, get peace of mind, real power and real control, and how you can influence decision making fast whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. Your free Instant Impact Report gives you in-depth insight that you must know whilst your loved one is critically ill or is even dying in intensive care. Sign up and download your free Instant Impact Report now by entering your email below. In your free Instant Impact Report, you will learn how to speak the secret intensive care language so that the doctors and the nurses know straight away that you are an insider and that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care. In your free report, you will also discover how to ask the doctors and the nurses the right questions, discover the many competing interests in intensive care and how your critically ill loved one's treatment may depend on those competing interests, how to eliminate fear, frustration, stress, struggle, and vulnerability even if your loved one is dying. You will get 5 mind-blowing tips and strategies helping you to get on the right path to making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence in your situation. You will get real-world examples that you can easily adapt to your and your critically ill loved one's situation. How to stop being intimidated by the intensive care team and how you will be seen as equals. You will get crucial behind the scenes insight so that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care and how you need to manage doctors and nurses in intensive care, and it's not what you think. Thank you for tuning into this week's Your Questions Answered episode, and I'll see you again next week in another update. Make sure you also have a look at our blog section for more tips and strategies, or simply send me an email to support@intensivecarehotline.com with your questions. Also, have a look at our membership site, intensivecaresupport.org, for families of critically ill patients in intensive care. You can also call me, find phone numbers on the top of the website. Also, have a look at our ebook section, and you can also get one-on-one consulting and advocacy with me over the phone, via Skype and via email by clicking on the relevant tabs on the top of the website. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, and I'll talk to you in a few days.